A family lived in a city. One day, the wife found out that her mother had passed away. They immediately asked her father to move in with them so that he would not feel sad and lonely, and so that the grandchildren would return the joy of life to their grandfather. The elderly man did not mind, but on one condition: if his faithful dog could also move with him. It was a big dog, but the family took in both the elderly man and his dog. The family became troubled when the pet was brought to this new home. The dog behaved aggressively, rushed at the children, barked, and had accidents, and angrily growled at the head of the family. Both men had to walk the dog together, otherwise he would forcefully pull the leash to his old house or try to attack his owner's son-in-law. The dog was taken to trainers and dog handlers, but no one could cope with the aggressive animal. One specialist just said, "The dog has a mental disorder. I recommend putting him to sleep." The owner of the dog did not want to hear these words. With tears in his eyes, he replied, "As soon as he is gone, my life will be over." The children also felt sorry for the big dog. When he was in a good mood, they played together and had so much fun. But suddenly, as if a switch was flipped in his brain, he turned into a violent, wild animal. By the fall, the members of the family just did not know what to do. The dog began to gnaw at himself and constantly howled. The family learned from experts that dogs of this breed need to be trimmed, but they were hearing this for the very first time. The elderly man confirmed that once a year, usually in the fall, his wife gave the dog a haircut. Then another problem arose: which groomer would not be too afraid to trim such a large and angry dog? The dog only succumbed to physical strength, so the head of the family volunteered to take him to the groomer. The man tried to find a way to calm down the dog and persuade the groomer, but it was all in vain. Experts saw that the dog absolutely did not obey anyone and did not want to risk their own safety. One of them suggested that the desperate owners should visit a specialist about whom they said was able to cope with any, even the most uncontrollable animal. The man dragged the stubborn pet to the indicated address, and he was dumbfounded when he saw a thin, short girl in front of him. He could not believe that such a girl would be able to handle the powerful, stubborn dog. The girl just confidently took the leash and told the owner when to return for the dog. When the owner came back, he expected the girl to have failed trimming the dog, but the man was amazed to see a neatly trimmed, well-groomed pet in front of him. He obediently stood on the girl's table while she finished cutting the hair on his paws. The dog looked important, like a marshal at a military parade, and he was holding a bright rubber ball in his teeth. The man would never have believed that he was seeing the same dog until he turned to him and looked into his eyes. The girl said that she would now teach the owner how to trim the claws and brush the dog's teeth. Then the man could not restrain himself and told the girl the whole story about how the dog appeared in his house and about his ugly behavior. "Therefore, we will definitely not be able to do these procedures with him," he finished his story disappointedly. "Can we bring him back to you?" he asked hopefully. And then the small girl said something that made the man shiver. "You see," she began, "you know that his mistress is no more, but the dog does not know this. He perceives everything as if he was taken away from her by force and not allowed to go back home. This is why he gets angry, bites, and behaves aggressively. So the dog hopes to escape from your strange house and return to his beloved mistress. I advise you to explain everything to the dog. Animals understand more than you think. Take him to the old house and then to the cemetery and have a heart-to-heart talk as if with a person." The girl's words seriously touched the man. He did not completely believe in them, but more than anything, he wanted the dog to calm down. He had the keys to his mother-in-law's apartment, and so the man decided not to waste time and went straight there. There was already a stale smell in the house. The dog walked through the rooms and smelled everything. Then he got into the car more calmly and rode to the cemetery without resisting. There the man and the dog approached the grave of the elderly woman. The man spoke to him as if like to a person, and the dog looked attentively into the eyes of the owner and seemed to understand everything. Having heard the explanation, the dog howled bitterly. Then he went to the grave, lay down, and hid his face in his paws. The devoted four-legged friend grieved for a very long time, but the man did not bother him. Only when the pet got up and walked towards the car did they leave the cemetery. When the two of them arrived home, no one could believe their eyes. A completely different dog returned from the groomer. He was so handsome and friendly. The aggression disappeared without a trace. The smart old dog still lives with the family, and he made friends with all of the members. Believe it or not, twice a week, the pet quite calmly opens his mouth for the owners to brush his teeth. Friends, if an animal suddenly behaves strangely, do not be angry with them. There is a reason for it. After all, pets also know how to love and suffer just like us.